Disclaimer. I wish to make it known that I am a Conservative voter and I have every intention to continue that trend on June 8th. However, I will try my best to keep as open mind as possible and keep personal biases to a minimum as I present these critical analyses. This is not an in-depth review of the manifestos in question, although I have read them cover to cover. I will only be skimming the surface of each one's most important points. Now this is the difficult one for me, as I already know that I will be voting Conservative. This is not because my opinion cannot be swayed, it can, albeit with some difficulty. It is because of the key fundamental values the Conservatives represent and the single strength that they are the only party who will negotiate our withdrawal from the European Union properly. As Theresa May said it herself, no deal for Britain is better than a bad deal for Britain, and with the likes of Jean-Claude Juncker and Michel Barnier sitting on the opposite side of that negotiating table, we are going to need the iron will of a Thatcherite Prime Minister. Shit, even the United Kingdom Independence Party, who are solely responsible for bringing Brexit about in the first place, are handing the reins over to the Tories in good faith that they are the only ones who will get the job done properly. However, it is not all sunshine and daisies from the Tory manifesto, because there are some rather concerning additions from their 2015 manifesto regarding the internet. Now, the manifesto claims that a Theresa May government will deliver the world's most dynamic digital economy, giving digital businesses access to the investment, skills and talent they need to succeed. A very Conservative-esque promise. However, with their track record on stealth taxes, would this policy allow you to impose the ubiquitously famous corporation tax upon web-based companies, who often are just stay-at-home mothers selling arts and crafts on eBay? Would that then extend to anyone selling anything on eBay? Just food for thought. Protections for people's data online, backed by a new data protection law. As you would want, I don't see why this is innovative enough to be part of your manifesto. Safety for children online and new rights to require social media companies to delete information about young people as they turn 18. This is something I like the sound of, as I did and said a lot of things online before I was 18 that are probably rather questionable. And of course, this is more relevant to young girls snapping themselves in questionable and promiscuous positions in return for Instagram followers. I still agree with it, and a good call. Purge the shit we did before we were 18. And sorry, David Cameron, you stuck your dick in that hog roast when you were already 21. That will stick around forever. Digital government and public services, using data and digital technology to transform school choice, local services and issues like planning and social care. Personally, I don't care, but I guess I can see its benefits. Access to social care online. New rules for the digital economy underpinned by domestic regulation and international partnership. Well, hello. I think we might need to come back to this one in more detail in a moment. Security online with unprecedented investment in cybersecurity and stronger cyber standards for government and public services. Unprecedented. So, you mean introducing national cybersecurity at all? After the whole NHS thing last month, I'm not sure we want to be reminding people of how badly you dropped the fucking ball there, do we? I promised I wouldn't do this to myself, but I think it's important to read this passage from the Tories' proposed digital charter verbatim, because it makes me wonder what they are planning on doing with it exactly. Quote, "Some people say that it is not for government to regulate when it comes to technology and the internet. We disagree. While we cannot create this framework alone, it is for government, not private companies, to protect the security of people and ensure the fairness of the rules by which people and businesses abide. Nor do we agree that the risks of such an approach outweigh the potential benefits. It is in the interests of stable markets that consumers are protected from abusive behaviour. That money can flow freely and securely, and that competition between businesses takes place on a level playing field. It is in no one's interest for the foundations of strong societies and stable democracies, the rule of law, privacy and security, to be undermined. So, we will establish a regulatory framework in law to underpin our digital charter and to ensure that digital companies, social media platforms and content providers, like myself, abide by these principles. We will introduce a sanctions regime to ensure compliance, giving regulators the ability to fine or prosecute those companies that fail in their legal duties and to order the removal of content where it clearly breaches UK law. We will also create a power in law for government to introduce an industry-wide levy from social media companies and communication service providers to support awareness and preventative activity to counter internet harms, just as it is already the case with the gambling industry. Just as we led the world in regulating embryology 30 years ago, we know that if we create the right system of governance for the digital economy and the use of data, we will attract the right businesses who want to become the global centre for data use and research. Now, do you remember a few years ago that David Cameron outlawed certain types of pornographic material being created and distributed, including that online? I do, because for a week or so I had to hide from political discussion, waiting for something bigger to happen in order to bury it. Luckily it's politics and it didn't take too long. But I am a conservative and even I couldn't believe that. What happens between two or more consenting adults is the business of those persons. It is not for the government to regulate sex. We never needed conjugal rights before, and we do not need it now. Simply put, if I want to watch two gay men fucking one another with a didgeridoo, then I will, and I will enjoy it, and the government should not get involved in that. I was going to put a joke in about potentially attractive MPs caring to join in with my homoerotic debauchery, apparently, but they're all fucking ugly as shit. Yeah, so this whole thing reads as though the Conservatives have only just discovered the internet and then the first thing they have found is motherless.com. I like the idea of a Thatcherite domestic policy, but this sounds as though it could have been written by Thatcher herself in 1983, 10 years before Sir Tim Berners-Lee even knew what the fucking internet was. Anyway, with all that said, I must repeat that the Conservatives are the only viable option at this election because of Brexit.